Welcome to this presentation on the nature of reality and perception. In the following slides, we will move step by step from simple definitions to a clearer understanding of how the world is experienced, interpreted, and finally known. This opening sets the stage for a journey that connects philosophy with everyday life. Here we begin by contrasting two key perspectives. On one side is the world as it appears to us through direct experience, and on the other is the deeper structure behind that appearance. This comparison helps us see that what we notice first is not always the whole truth, and that careful reflection can reveal a more complete view. This slide introduces the basic idea of parts and wholes. The rope, the circles, and the labelled stages suggest that reality is often built from relationships rather than isolated pieces. In that sense, understanding comes from seeing how elements connect, combine, and influence one another in a larger system. Now we turn to the question, what is the world? The diagram shows that the world is not just one thing, but a blend of matter and consciousness. In other words, what we call reality may include both the outer physical layer and the inner layer of awareness that gives experience its meaning. This slide expands the idea of consciousness into three levels. It suggests a progression from the most basic physical level to the mental or biological level, and then to the rational level of human understanding. The visual circles help show that each layer builds on the one before it, rather than replacing it. Here we move into a more practical classification of reality. The three columns point to different forms of knowledge and experience, from everyday perception to more refined understanding. The central message is that reality can be approached in stages, and each stage reveals something different about how we know and interpret the world. This slide presents a structured pathway from mind to world. It shows how thought, form, and action can be linked through a process of development. The flow from one stage to the next suggests that human understanding is not static. It evolves as ideas are shaped, tested, and transformed into lived experience. Now we enter a more analytical section on psychological and philosophical concepts. The four pillars imply different foundational ideas, each contributing to a larger framework. Together, they help explain how perception, interpretation, and knowledge are built, not as separate facts, but as interconnected dimensions of awareness. The contrast on this slide is especially important. It highlights the gap between immediate perception and deeper reality, reminding us that what appears obvious may not be final. By placing these ideas side by side, the slide encourages us to question assumptions and look beyond surface impressions. This slide summarizes the role of the mind in shaping experience. The central image suggests that the human mind is not just a passive receiver, but an active organizer of reality. Our senses, memories, and reasoning all work together to build the world we think we know. Here we see two opposing states, one stable and protected, the other fragmented and affected by disruption. The visual metaphor implies that not all forms of experience are equally secure or clear. Some are preserved through balance, while others become distorted when conditions change. This comparison of the two worlds shows how different realities can exist depending on perspective and purpose. One side focuses on practical, observable life, while the other points toward a more refined or ideal dimension. The overall message is that reality can be understood at multiple levels, each with its own value. The idea of truth and vision is introduced here through the image of a map leading toward a star. It suggests that knowledge begins with a clear framework, but ultimate insight comes from moving beyond the map itself. In this way, truth is not only about information, but about direction and discovery. Now, the presentation asks a deeper question. Who are we? The answer is shown as a combination of self-awareness and the factors that shape experience. This slide suggests that identity is not fixed in isolation, but emerges through the meeting of inner consciousness and outer conditions. Finally, this closing slide brings the whole discussion together. The puzzle-like circle shows that reality is made of connected parts, and that understanding comes when those parts fit together. The message is simple but profound. Truth is not found in one single view, but in the relationship between the inner and outer worlds.